Okay, let's call the meeting to order. MPO Policy Committee meeting. Meeting dates, March the 22nd, 2023, 1:30 p.m. Location, City of Laredo City Council Chambers, 1110 Houston Street, Laredo, Texas. Mr. Chairperson, call roll.
Yes, Mayor, Ms. Briones will call roll.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. Mayor Dr. Victor Trevino,
Present.
Judge Tano Tijerina,
Present, ma'am. I'm sorry. Present, ma'am.
Councilmember Melissa Figueroa,
Present.
Councilmember Ruben Gutierrez,
Present.
Commissioner Jesse Gonzalez,
Present.
Commissioner Joan Galo, Councilmember Vanessa Perez,
Present.
Mr. Epigmenio Epi Gonzalez,
Present.
Mr. Ted Brown.
Present.
For the record, Mayor, you do have a quorum.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll move a motion to, for the moment, excuse Commissioner Gailey. Second.
Okay, motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, number 3, citizens' comments.
We have no further comments at the time.
All right, thank you. Okay,
Mayor, motion for the approval of the minutes for the meeting held on February 15, 2023.
There's no amendments. I'll second that.
motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None seen, motion passes. Item B, discussion with possible action on potential future amendments to the MPO bylaws regarding the structure and terms of the policy of the committee chairperson and vice chairperson. Note, a change in the structure and terms of policy committee membership will require a future MPO bylaws amendment and 10-day public comment and public review.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, let me just read this. This item is important, and I know that we discussed it briefly at previous meetings, but as we continue to build and reinforce our relationships with the county judge, I know that we have had a chance to speak in regards to this, and I think that alternating the chairmanship is appropriate so we can do this in other committees that we jointly serve on. So I look forward to finishing out this year and look forward to having the judge as the chair of the City of Laredo and Webb County MPO for next year. That's my comment. Yes.
thank you. Mr. Chair, I'll move a motion to appoint Judge Tano Tijerina for the chair for this MPO, effective whenever the 10-day public comment or review period takes effect. The way I see it, Mayor, and with all due respect, there is going to be time, more than enough time to alternate. The judge has been here for what, Judge, 10 years already?
It's my 9th year, yes.
It's your 9th year, and you know, he's obviously knows what projects and whatnot, and I think at the end of the day, working together is going to be the best thing, so I'll make a motion to appoint the judge.
All right. Motion,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Oh, Mayor, I'd like to add to that. I think we're gonna alternate every year is what it is.
I think the motion has already been made.
Every 2 years.
There's a,
Every year.
Every year.
Let's make sure.
at the last meeting, I was asked to bring back a proposal, but staff was proposing, and of course, you all can, go another route, but it was just to rotate every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
Between the City of Laredo mayor and Webb County judge. But we had talked about the last meeting letting the mayor serve the 2 years and then the judge beginning in 2025. So that was a proposal we had. You all can elect to go any other route.
Yeah, I'll include in my motion for the recommended every 2 years.
Yeah,
Rotation.
that way it's in 2 years, 2023, and then in 2025, Judge Tano Tijerina will begin his term through the end of 2026.
Well, my motion is to appoint the judge
So
right now.
do we
for
have
the
an
first 2 years.
initial motion? Nobody second yet?
A second.
Yes.
I second the
Okay,
motion.
so, okay. So we shouldn't have discussion after the second.
I
Oh,
think there
yes.
can be discussion for
Discussion, yeah, the second for discussion, correct.
clarification. So I do apologize because I am new to the committee and I do not know all of the issues that have been discussed before, but when you're discussing this amendment and changing the bylaws, you're setting in place a policy that will continue for the rest of the existence of the organization until there's a new amendment. So appointing someone mid-year may confuse that process? Or do we need to separate, I guess my question is, do we need to separate this and that there be two votes so that we're a little clearer?
Yeah, so the action today, since like I mentioned here, for the bylaws, as per our public participation plan, we need to open a 10-day comment period. What I was recommending is, depending on the action y'all take today, come back in May to open that public comment period, and then in June for the final approval. Bearing in mind that the switch would actually happen beginning in 2025 to allow the mayor to serve through the end of 2024, which had been previously discussed, right? The reason I'm saying opening the comment period is in May is to allow staff some time to review the bylaws, also to see whether other things we can change, that way we can bring them in together at the same time instead of, just piecemealing everything. That's why I was proposing that change. So, but I don't know, I think that was the understanding, was that we wanted the mayor to serve 2 years and the judge another 2 years. I was asked what the recommendation of staff would be, and that's staff's recommendation. But again, the policy committee can
Yeah, that's why
decide
we have
otherwise.
that's why we have a motion on the table. I mean, a motion on the floor.
Can you clarify that?
Point of order. What was your?
Just answering that, that's why we have a motion on the floor right now.
Okay, and the original motion was 1 or 2 years?
2 years.
2 years. All right. And has it been seconded?
Yes.
Okay, motion, and it has been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
For
motion
point of,
passes.
for point of clarification, Mayor, could we have a review of what motion passed? Just to be clear about the bylaws versus the, it's a little bit different what I think Commissioner Gonzalez was proposing.
Mayor, if I may?
Go ahead.
My motion was to appoint Judge Tano Tijerina to be the chair, basically starting as soon as the 10-day period finishes.
Okay, so the way it would work, we would need to bring the bylaws. If that's what you all want to do, then the language would have to be read different when we open that comment period, because then it would be saying that the chairperson would be the judge at an earlier period.
Correct.
So the language that we're proposing is that it would be beginning in 2025. So that's why,
Yeah, whenever we read it in, we'll just correct the language to reflect that, to reflect the motion that just passed.
because the way it works, we would need like I said, open the comment period with the bylaw language that you're proposing, and then have that 10-day comment period, see any feedback that we receive from the public, and then come back for the final approval of that bylaw. Then the bylaw changes, and then we can make the switch after the bylaws
Sure.
are
As long as
made
we-
into effect.
Within the process, as soon as whenever the process takes effect.
So I just want to make sure that then your motion is to have the judge begin his term mid-year, right after
Correct.
that. That was the motion?
Yes, I included in my language.
And is it just for calendar years 23, 24?
So it'll be calendar year, 23, 24, and then that way we don't throw it off.
Right, it's just to, excuse me, Mayor, it's just to get it, change the language around
Yeah.
from what you proposed to what Commissioner Gonzalez proposed. Change the language to Judge Tigre and take over as soon as the 10-day grace period is over. The 10-day, I'm sorry, comment period is over.
Yeah.
And then have them take one position for 2 years, which would be this year, 23 and 24. And in January of 25, the mayor would take over as chairperson again.
Yes, we'll stick to the calendar year, in other words.
Okay, yeah,
All right,
we can do that.
okay. All right, motion has been passed.
If I may,
Go ahead, Judge.
I'd like to thank everybody on this board, obviously, for that motion, but I don't really want to do it as a personal level. I want to do it as a professional level, as a county judge, and I know that the motion was made that Tano Tijerina. In all reality, it's not Tano Tijerina, because tomorrow there's going to be somebody else. Anytime we think that we're indispensable and irreplaceable, that's kind of beyond our thought process, because all of us are replaceable, and we all will be one of these days, and there's going to be a better county judge, and a county judge that's going to come forward, and another mayor that's going to come forward, and another city council, and other commissioners. And all I'm trying to say is that the more that Webb County and Laredo collaborate and work together, we're just doing everything. We're probably only maybe probably one of the last MPOs to kind of do this. Almost everybody else does rotate in a basis. Some of them rotate in a different way. Some of them, it depends on your tenure, and you go on and on. But I believe that it should be the mayor and the county judge working collaboratively together. And that's really what I wanted to make sure that I wanted to say to the public, and I just wanted to say thank you. And it's really not about me. This is just about, it was the same way when we had to put Webb County into the logo or into our title. It was only Laredo MPO, but in all reality, it wasn't fair. It should have been Laredo Webb MPO, which it is now. It's taken some time. It took me 5 years to be able to get Webb County on there, but you know, how do you bite an apple? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So we got plenty of time. So we appreciate you all very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I apologize for any confusion. But yeah, as you mentioned, the bylaws would mention the mayor and the judge by their title, not by name, so.
Yeah, no, it wasn't confusion,
Yeah,
it was
no, no,
clarification, so
Okay.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
I was just making that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
And thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Okay, item C. Discussion with possible action on the Charles Ruethinger Road project, including the allocation and programming of additional Category 7 funds in the amount of $47,779,000, bringing to the Category 7 a total of $100 million for the construction of Charles Ruethinger Road, 4-lane divided highway, CSJ 0922-33.
Second.
165. Motion,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, discussion with possible action on resolution number MPO 2023-04, prioritizing construction of Charles Ruethinger Road and supporting TxDOT allocation of Category 2 funds in the amount of $26.5 million and Category 4U funds in the amount of $17.9 million to CSJ.
I'm gonna move that. So
Second.
Okay, motion, second, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item E, discussion with possible action on the coordination of strategy related to sending a delegation of MPO policy committee members to future Texas Transportation Commission public meetings and any other matters incident thereto.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I know this item was something that Councilmember Pettis had brought up. I know there's going to be some important items in future Texas Transportation Commission meetings, especially when they discuss the Charles Ruethinger project being transferred to the state, and those are still in some future meetings. Right now, I know Roberto was trying to get the timeline for that. I know there is a special Transportation Commission meeting this coming Wednesday to discuss 2 different projects. And then I believe on Thursday, they're still going to have their regular commission meetings. There's not a specific item on a chart for that. The agenda still hasn't been posted, but my understanding that's still not going to be on there. But this item was just to kind of coordinate and strategize, you know, how we'll go about sending a delegation of policy committee members to future meetings, maybe to, you know, ask for support for those projects. I know in speaking with Epi Gonzalez from TxDOT, he did mention that a lot of times these items are kind of like a consent agenda, so they're pretty quick, so the opportunity would be to provide a public comment during that meeting. I don't know if TxDOT would want to add something on that, or Councilmember Pettis.
All right,
I brought
thank you.
the mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
So I just thought it would be a great idea, I mean, in going to Texas and meeting with TxDOT, it would be good for us to kind of, if we needed to be part of their discussions for Laredo, send someone from MPO or city, or kind of divvy up the, I guess, the task. I know they meet once a month, and I thought it would be a good idea for there to be some Laredo representation at their meetings.
Thank you.
May I add a little bit?
Yes, Jeff, go ahead.
I believe she's absolutely correct. I will go even as far as, and I don't know how this would work, but let's just say for some crazy reason, none of us can make it. Don't we have our, what do we call it? Somebody help me, please. Our advisory committee?
Border Trade, or the TxDOT one, or our technical committee?
No,
Oh, our technical committee.
our technical committee?
Yes, that's correct.
Don't we have like a chair? Don't we have somebody that's kind of, maybe that they would like to go and participate? Because they're appointees anyway. Well, my commissioner's appointees. I don't have one.
Yeah, the members that serve on the technical committee are designated by the bylaws, and I serve as the chair of the technical committee, but we have representatives from the city departments and the county departments on there. So like we have the city planning director, the county planning director.
I'm just saying, if we could just add that to the list, just in case for some crazy reason, none of us can take it, but I agree with
Yeah, we can.
Councilwoman Vanessa Pellis, yes.
Yeah, I think we just, you know, like maybe be more strategic about which meeting we would attend, but we can have those discussions.
Well, I just, Mayor, if I may,
Go ahead.
I just feel that, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And so I think that the more that we are there advocating for our needs and making sure that they consider Laredo, and I've had this discussion many times before, that Laredo is not just Laredo, it's Port Laredo and Laredo, and they don't look at it like that, and I think that it's gonna take a while for them to fully understand that we've got two separate needs here, and I know all communities are short funded and with inflation and everything, but bringing up the Hitchar Ruthinger, and I'm really glad that we're supporting that project. That's more for the trade industry, but we're putting a lot of our local monies towards that, which leaves us very limited in what we can do to accommodate the needs of the rest of the city. And I think that in order to better serve the city and the county and the community, it would be good for us to do everything we can to try to get some more consideration from the state.
Mayor, if I could make a comment. I believe an announcement was made earlier today that 2 new appointees were made with the Texas Transportation Commission. One of them is from the Valley, specifically from FAR. That gives a really loud voice for the Valley. So in my opinion, Laredo needs to do everything we can to keep ourselves on the map, Laredo and Webb County, with our state officials. So to show up at every single Texas Transportation Commission meeting and make a statement that may not be necessary, but we need to probably have better attendance. And I think it's really important too, when we go, we're sending our best and brightest, because you don't get a whole lot of time at the mic. And they need to be somebody that speaks well for our port, for our community. That also goes to any meetings we request of TxDOT. If we go to meet with the executive director, Mark Williams, we really need to strategize about who we send. I learned my lesson going through the process with Vallecillo. This is a good group, a makeup of the county, the city, the RMA, TxDOT. We want to make sure that when we go, we're speaking with one voice. They like to see that. So,
All right, thank you.
If I may,
Just go
I'm
ahead.
gonna just add, the gentleman that was appointed from FAR actually was probably the youngest one that's ever been appointed as a commissioner. And also, the last time the Latino Hispanic was on that was in the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken. So it gives you an idea, it was long overdue. And so, anyway.
All right, Mayor, go ahead. Yes.
So we're actually going to make a presentation to the Transportation Commission next Wednesday. It's called the Red River to the Rio Grande, and it's going to highlight projects on I-35 all the way from the Texas-Oklahoma border all the way to Laredo. So that's going to be something we're going to be presenting to the commission next Wednesday.
May I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
So will you be talking about all the corridors, like the I-69, I-27, now it's whatever, 6 or whatever now they're also talking about?
So this is strictly for I-35.
Oh, this is just 35?
I-35, but we
Which
do
is
have.
much needed anyway, that's
Correct,
fine, okay.
correct. But we do have monthly statewide connectivity meetings that talk about I-27, I-69, I-2, and obviously.
I-2 was the one that I couldn't remember, that's the one that they've been throwing around lately, okay. All right.
Okay, thank you. Any motions?
I don't know if we need a motion.
We don't need a motion.
I'll keep communicating with you all as we know the meetings are coming up, what items are there. Staff will make sure we're looking at those agendas. We'll let you know if we think we need to go up, or we'll have those discussions.
Well, if I may, since there
Yes,
is
go
a
ahead.
possible action, I'll go ahead and so move it to continue that. Second?
Okay, motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item F, presentation and discussion with possible action to enter into a non-financial partnership agreement with the Rio Grande International Study Center, RSGIC, and provide a letter of commitment for the submission of their grant application to the EPA's Environmental Justice Collaborative Program Solving Program for a project to potential focus on reducing heat island effects, the installation of quality monitors or similar scopes of effort that benefit downtown Laredo. Presentation to be provided by a representative from RISC.
Thank you, Chair. I know we do have representatives from Risk here today. They approached us about this potential partnership. At this time, we had suggested that, we can maybe partner with a non-financial partnership, but they'll be doing a presentation right now, and you'll be able to ask any questions at the end. Go ahead.
Alrighty. Good afternoon, everyone. Martin Castro for the record, Watershed Science Director at Risk. My co-speaker, Sheila Sutton, will be joining me momentarily. Just a short presentation here, but I want to thank everyone for allowing us to speak today on this, very interesting partnership opportunity. As Mr. Mendiva mentioned, this is a cooperative agreement program with the EPA's Environmental Justice. Has a long name, Collaborative Problem Solving Program. Would you say the CPS program? And essentially, the CPS program is a program designed to provide financial assistance to eligible organizations working to significantly address local environmental or public health issues in their communities. The focus is on communities that have been disproportionately affected or burdened by environmental harms and risks. So the purpose, again, is to build these collaborative partnerships through this program and the resources and tools it offers with other stakeholders to develop solutions to these issues at the community level that cannot be addressed by either one single entity or group. So just a couple of quick facts about the program. There's approximately $30 million available in funding for this fiscal year, 23. There's only 50 projects that are going to be selected nationally, each for up to $500,000. The period to complete a project or a proposal is up to 3 years. The deadline is actually, that's an incorrect date, it's actually April 14th. They just extended it like 2 days ago. So it's next month. The applicants, if successful, for example, will be notified in September later this year, and with a start date officially of October 1st of 2023. The eligible candidates are community-based nonprofit organizations such as Risk and tribal governments. There is a minimum this EPA requires or highly recommends of 3 partnering organizations that are required for the most competitive application. So just to go over briefly the project area or where our scope, we would like to execute a project. We've been going back and forth, but we are eyeing now the boulevard here off of International Bridge, 2 boulevards off of International Bridge number 2 and to 35, these 4 plazas, to eye a potential project. I'll go over the details of our proposal in just a minute, but I wanted to give this visual representation of specifically the area that we'd like to execute a project in. Sorry?
Oh, with focus on the plazas in the middle.
Right, that's the focus here. So just briefly to go over some of the eligible project activities before I go in depth with our proposal. Again, the CPS program from the EPA can fund research, public education and outreach, small-scale construction, which is the one we're going to focus on today. It can mitigate sources of pollution, install runoff filtration systems, revitalize community planning. So all these improve mobility. So all of these, are the eligible project activities. Again, we're going to focus on the small-scale construction with some emphasis on mobility and connectivity for our proposal. So what do we want to do, right? Our proposal here at Risk and to partner potentially with the MPO is we want to do one of sort of 3 things sort of overall is we want to bridge, first of all, data gaps. Laredo, I think we recognize that Laredo has some lacks in data, specifically as it concerns our air quality. And so for starters, for example, and my co-speaker here, Sheila, Ms. Serna, can speak about the air quality issues, but we'd like to, for example, install air quality sensors right next to the port of entry as vehicles exit International Bridge number 2 in or around these plazas. Number 2, we'd like to tackle the climate mitigation, and how we're going to do that is we're going to do that through the installation of tree canopy coverage, which is going to help sequester carbon and reduce the urban heat island effect in these plazas. I'll show a slide in just a moment to give you a better visual representation. Lastly, we want to focus on walkability, right? We want to improve connectivity between the neighborhoods and downtown throughout the boulevard, right? Via these plazas, via the improvements to the north side of Hidalgo Street, basically going from east to west. And the last item you'll notice is tentative. We'd like to also, in our proposal, of course, this isn't, we'd like to do this, but we're still working on this one, is the installation of green infrastructure. Some ideas probably, for example, a bioswale, which will help capture stormwater runoff filtration. So just some of the facts here, just to emphasize a little bit more about our proposal. Some of this data is coming from, do you want to talk on this slide? Or?
Sure, we can do that. My name is Sheila Serna, for the record. I'm the Climate Science and Policy Director at the Rio Grande International Study Center. Yes, so Martin gathered this first tidbit of information here, that there's 28,000 non-commercial vehicles that cross north and southbound a day through International Bridge 2. And that's roughly about 10 million a year. So we have quite a bit of vehicles passing through and probably a lot of pollution associated to that. There is a TCEQ air quality monitor at the bridge. This is a monitor, not a sensor like we're proposing in our project. The monitor is used for regulatory purposes to make sure that the parameters that they measure are within the national air quality standards. The sensors are more for us to know in this particular area, in these plazas around the boulevard, how much is passing by, how fast it dissipates, does it stay there for a long time, etc. So, but just to quickly touch on the air monitor at Bridge 2, it was deactivated for measuring CO in 2017 and for PM 2.5 in 2002. Why are those significant? Well, because PM 2.5 is essentially soot and comes from a lot of diesel and car combustion. So we really don't have any data since 2002 about the air quality in that area. And there's also little to no tree canopy coverage in the downtown plazas. Martin here added a map of the heat severity index. And the reason why it's so red is because it has very few tree canopy. There's a lot of concrete, a lot of asphalt, and that just absorbs heat and then reflects it later on at night. Can you go back to just the map, Martin? Sure. Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Ms. Serna, just a question. What is your goal at the end of the day with these monitors, specifically at bridge number 2? With 28,000 vehicles crossing every single day, we expect it to be not very good quality, obviously,
right.
At certain points of the bridge. But what is your goal at the end?
So we want to know what the starting point is, and then we want to know what the end point is once we vegetate the area with lots of trees and we have like shade. We want to know, did it make a difference or not? And did this tree canopy really help mitigate the pollution? And if it did, which I'm sure it will, then that's like evidence, right? That's data that we didn't have before, and it could potentially help us vegetate other areas around Laredo.
Great, okay. I just didn't want it to become an issue with crossings coming through Laredo. Obviously, the city of Laredo depends on those bridge crossings.
Oh, absolutely.
Every day, so
yeah.
We don't want it to become an issue later on.
So it's not just about identifying the problem, it's also about fixing the problem. And how do we do that? And it's through tree
By
canopy.
adding vegetation to it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, Councilmember, the EPA stresses not only to address a problem, but come to a solution. And so, for example, if we were to submit a proposal where we would just install air monitors with no sort of measurable outcome, such as reducing air pollution through tree canopy, I don't think the EPA would, or I think they would be less inclined to fund a proposal had that additional layer of tree canopy coverage not be included. So if that makes any sense.
Sure, thank you.
And just wrapping up here briefly, so I'm sure the board is familiar with this. The scope of MPO as identified in the CFR code, there's a couple of boxes I think that our proposal checks off. I'm gonna just, go over some, but I think there's maybe more as well that, through our proposed project, we can check off some of these and maybe enhance more. So, just a simple reminder of some of the scope and how our project, how the overlap ties in with the scope of the MPO. And just finishing up here, so this is essentially what our organization RISC is here to ask for. We're simply asking for a collaborative partnership agreement for this policy committee to enter with us. This partnership can be in a form of financial or a non-financial agreement. The EPA holds both of those in the same regard, that we won't lose points on our application if the board decides to enter into a non-financial or financial agreement. Whether it's a financial or non-financial agreement, the only instrument that they require for this application is a letter of commitment. That will outline the terms of the partnership, basically the roles and responsibilities between both parties. To give an example of a financial agreement, usually it looks something like, or it looks like, for example, if RISC were to receive an award or a grant from this program, the lead organization being RISC would then give out sub-awards to the project partners to help assist in executing the project. A non-financial agreement, I think, can be in the form of technical resources, but it's up, of course, for the board to, we can work with this committee, to outline those terms. And just to give, this is the final slide, some idea of an overview of the other partnership requests that other entities that we have approached. We had a meeting with the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone just a few weeks ago. We'll be working with some of our council members through the city. Of course, we're here today at the MPO Policy Committee. We're working with our friends at Able City and possibly Azteca Economic Development and Preservation Corporation for some assistance there as well. Again, the EPA highly stresses that the more partners included in the proposal, the better chances that Laredo, I think, has for some funding to really do some good work.
Mayor, I'd like to motion to enter into a non-financial agreement with the RISC at this time.
I'd be happy to second it, and if I could make a comment?
Yes.
I think that this partnership and the availability of funds, if it were to be granted, is wonderful because it'll coincide with the plans the city has for the 4 blocks development. I know tree canopy is one of the issues that they intend to address there, and seeing Able City as being one of the partners in this proposal means that those designs will coincide nicely. So I think it's a great idea, and Mayor, this is a way for the city to sort of stretch their funds in trying to address the 4 blocks development.
All right. All right, motion. Did you second it already?
Yes, I did.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
May I just ask him a question real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
On your partners, did we not approve, Webb County, did we not approve one? One of your air monitor controls?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
But that was for ethylene oxide. This is for like car pollution
Okay,
mitigation.
and I'm curious, and I'm going off topic a little bit, but
Sure.
were you able to get your results? Because I don't think we've ever received anything.
We're just pending EPA approval of our project plan, and we should be expecting that within the next, couple of weeks. And, but I can provide an update for you, if that's okay, directly.
If you don't mind, please.
Sure, yeah, I can definitely do that. We've been in communication with Mr. Bratton. Right,
Mr. Nathan Bratton? Okay.
Yes,
Very good.
so he's up to date, and he was also a part of a meeting that we had just not too long ago.
No problem, just as long as we're still in communication, that was all my
Yes,
point. Thank you, Mayor.
absolutely.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, myself, I just wanted to also, because we thought, obviously, I thought the same thing, that we were on board as a county as well, so if you need support and non-financial agreement support from us as well for this type of, because it's different, right, I guess, what we approved last time?
Yes, this is a grant through EPA that we just need, we need partnership on. So that's why we have that list of potential partners for this project. And I just want to maybe paint a picture of the proposed project. So you have the bridge.
Can we get this up on the?
Oh yeah, can you see the map on your
Yes.
screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is, we basically want to connect this corridor here. We want to make it a very green, lush corridor so that people from this Azteca neighborhood can have access, easy, safe access to the downtown area, which will, you know, hopefully stimulate, you know, economic growth and beautification of our city. And so we're trying to look at it like big picture, like what does, what's the one in Mexico City?
Paseo de la Reforma.
Paseo de la Reforma kind of look like. It's like very vegetated, it's very green. It's a very high traffic area, but they have these really large and long crosswalks so that people feel safe enough to walk as well. So.
No, by all means, you know, Webb County and collaborates really good with Risco. If you need Webb County as well
Thank you so
for
much.
this, you know, non-financial support for a grant, let us know.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Appreciate
We
that,
appreciate
Commissioner.
that.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
One
Yes, go
additional
ahead.
comment, yeah, I think that what the judge and the commissioner saw was you had 5 names and maybe one was missing that gives strength to your application,
Yes,
Webb County.
perfect.
The other thing I'd say is let's make sure if all these trees are planted someday that we allocate water to the trees because they don't do well unless they get water. So I'm not sure who would pay for the water, but we definitely need to, they grow real well if they get water. If they don't get water, they'll die.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right,
All right,
thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item 5, reports and presentations.
It's by the RMA.
Yes, the next report is the one by the RMA, Regional Mobility Authority.
Jeb Brown from the RMA. In your packet, we always provide a monthly update of the projects that we're working on with the status report. A number of them will be wrapping up real soon, and we've got 3 or 4 more that we're getting ready to kick off. So I would answer any questions. Melissa Montemayor could answer any questions too. She's here on behalf of the RMA. If there are no questions, you can certainly look in your packet of what we're working on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other reports?
Director's comment.
All right, we'll go with director comments now.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We should have done this earlier, but wanted to welcome Melissa Cigarroa, City of Laredo Council Member for District 3. She was appointed by Mayor Dr. Richard D. Trevino at the City of Laredo Council meeting of February 21st. So we're happy to have you on board. So wanted to mention that I will be attending the National Planning Conference in Philadelphia from April 1st through April 4th. So it's the National Planning Conference for planners right across the country. And, you know, as a certified planner, I'll be able to get my continuing education credits there at the conference as well. So it's important for me to attend. And the upcoming meetings, we have our Active Transportation Committee on March 29th, 2023. Our Technical Committee will be April 11th, 2023. Then our Policy Committee will be on April 19th, 2023. Since we did move the meeting from last week to this week, you know, it'll be a quicker turnaround. That's pretty much all I had right now. There's a lot of different things going on. We continue to work with our travel demand model for the next MTP update. We're finalizing the Metropolitan Transportation Plan RFQ, so that should be coming out soon. And hopefully maybe around April or May, we'll bring that to you to select a firm. So I just wanted to let you know that. So that's all I have for now.
Mayor, may I?
Yes, go ahead, Judge.
I'd like to ask Mr. Juan, I know you didn't put it on here, but you were supposed to be working on your salary, and I hate to say you were working on your salary because it sounds, it doesn't sound very good, but in all reality, we asked you to go back and look at your salary. This wasn't on this agenda. Are we gonna see it on the next agenda or something?
It is, it's an executive session item. So I was gonna request if it could be tabled. There's some clarification that I need to get from HR and legal. I did speak to them and just saying some parameters, so and they're coming up with an employment agreement. So I wanted to take a look at that. I got a copy of that agreement yesterday, so I want to go ahead and look at it just to make sure everything's okay before I come to you all and, you know, mention or negotiate a figure.
Motion to table number 7, executive session item 8.
Second.
A motion, second, on favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion
Motion
carries.
passes.
To the next meeting. Oh.
Never.
Oh, you're not.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
I know that we passed some HR Ruthinger items, but we usually have a status report on HR Ruthinger on here, and I know there's some people in the audience that are big advocates for this project, and they're concerned that you know, lately, I know we just kind of hit a milestone here with allocating the funding gap and everything, but that still doesn't put us, I think, tell us where we are with the project as far as, like the city, acquiring the right of way and things like that. And I had just asked, Epi if we were still gonna be able to let in December. So I'm kinda wanna just, reiterate the fact that we're trying to push for that December letting date. And, I don't know if there's any,
Chair,
now
if I
that
may.
we've taken care of the gaps, if there's any other hiccups to that.
Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I had combined, we always have that standing item, I had combined item 4C with the category 7 funding. So, you know, I should have separated it, but we did combine that, so you want to bring back 4C?
Motion to bring back
Discussion?
4C.
Second.
A motion, second, on favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I just want to know if the project is still, I know that we had a meeting, we've been having lots of different meetings, and so I'm very excited that we accomplished one hurdle, which was the funding gap. But we still have the right-of-way acquisition as another hurdle, and I believe that once we take care of that, we should be able to let the project, we should have the funding available September 1st. So I don't want to open a can of worms here, but I know there's people in the audience that are waiting to kind of, or that are here because of that project, and I know that the city has to acquire the right-of-way. We've been working on it. There's one landowner, there's 3 landowners, 2 of them have said, whatever you all need, we're waiting on word from one particular landowner. I don't know if there's any updates to that, or are we still on track for the possible December letting date?
So we have Ms. Anna Duncan, she can provide us the update.
I have a presentation just to give you an update where we are with all the aspects of the project, and then the city will also have some information.
Well, I don't want to like prolong the meeting too much. I just
Just to
want
show
a
you
quick,
just the
a quick
schedule?
answer,
Okay,
if we can.
not ready yet. How do you move this?
May I, while they're doing this right now, I wanted to thank Epi. I know this is one of your first moves as TxDOT to be on the funding gap that we had for Char Ruthinger. So congratulations to TxDOT, and thank you for moving the way you did and the expedited manner that you did. So once again, just thank you and congratulations. I wanted to do that publicly.
Appreciate it, Judge.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead. Ready?
Yes, really quick, this is our original schedule. When we presented in November, we showed a January 2014 letting date, and that was based on what we had. What we've been speaking to recently has been having our plans ready for a December ready to let.
Sorry,
that-
name and title, sorry.
Anna Duncan, I'm sorry, Anna Duncan for the record.
Thank you.
So we have right-of-way that's already on schedule. We show no delays with respect to that. We have the utility on schedule, the coordination is ongoing. With respect to the plans, we had the update that we were hoping for, which was that we were going to start moving back towards the four-lane divided. So what we did with that is, we received our 60% this coming month, but that's still the modified version. We're under negotiations right now with our consultant, as we had expected, we would hope, we want it to be, to switch that over to the 4-lane divided. And here we show our schedule with respect to that. We'll be getting our 60% resubmittal, which shows the updated plans by July, and we'll have our plans completed by December at 100%. That still puts us with a ready-to-let date of late December, which means you'd have to have the 4 months prior to let. So we're looking at a let date of April of 2024. That allows for the processing and everything, going out for bids and having the funding actually applied to the project. And then with respect to the roadway transfer, that we have good news. We had it scheduled for later this year to get that done, and we've already submitted the minute order for that, and we're just pending the commission approval. So if that goes according to schedule, we should be able to have that updated on the STIP on the August revision. And I'll provide a copy of this presentation to you all as well. This is just in some written words, some additional information. Like you mentioned, final revisions or the revisions that we had for parcels 6, 7, 8 have already been submitted. So we've given everything to the city. I think there was a little discrepancy on parcel 3 we were just talking about earlier, so we're gonna get that fixed up. They received a response regarding parcels 1 through 5, and that they're ready to begin discussions on those, so that's more than half of them. We're waiting on a response regarding parcels 7 and 8, which is that third property owner. Once we know exactly what the city wants to do, we'll be able to continue with that. The utilities, we had our kickoff meeting between all parties, both consultants for the city and for us on March 10th, and the city will give a little bit more of an update on that right now. I've spoken already with regards to the PS&E, so we are good to go on that, and with respect to the roadway transfer as well. So again, we're targeting August 2023 for the STIP revision. Those are typically approved 3 months later, so that kind of puts it in line with when we're ready to let. Now, with respect to roadway transfer, that's one thing, but the funds themselves, once we receive them, that also needs to get put in this STIP. So we want to try to target that August date so we can meet the proper letting time. And then just to remind everybody what our ready to let definition was, it'll be in there. We have to have all of our clearances, our environmental, our right-of-way clearance, the full PS&E, all project agreements in place. Any railroad coordination, utility agreements have to be already planned out or be ready to be cleared within 3 months. So ready to let, right now what we're talking about is the plans themselves for December. The city will confirm for you that we'll have everything ready for the entire project as well.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
The environmental, is that completed already?
Not yet. It's in the process, but it's right on schedule.
So could that cause a hiccup on anything?
No, because the city is still allowed to proceed with the right-of-way acquisition, even though we don't have the environmental. We're at the point that it's complete to the sense that we're pending just our public involvement, which is the presentation of the project, but everything else has already been,
The
I guess,
analysis?
clear in a sense. Yes, all that's been verified, and there's been no issues.
And Mayor, just one more question. To clarify the letting, so when we say ready to let, and we say let for December, that means April?
Ready to let means your project has to be completely ready where you have everything cleared. And then we process it. So that needs to go to division. They assign the funds to it specifically. They have to go through the actual advertisement process. They put the plans onto the systems, so that it takes about 3 months for all that to take place. And then the actual letting date is the date that bids are open. So that's why it falls 3 months later. So the end of December, that'd be January, February, March, the April letting will be the one.
Okay. And that's best case scenario with the right-of-way, we took care of the funding gap. Now this is, and I also want to point out for the public that we just approved the full version, because we had talked months ago about whether or not we were going to do a modified or a full. So this is fully funded for the full version, which is amazing. Thank to the entire commission and everyone for your hard work on that one, because that's a big deal. But I know that if we can get everything in line quicker, we still have to wait for that September 1st for the funding to be available, right? And so then, okay, so I just wanted everybody to kind of know what's going on, and that we're all working really hard behind the scenes to make sure that we get everything in order.
Chair, if I may, I was gonna
Yes, go ahead.
mention that. So I know there's certain actions that need to happen, also the Texas Transportation Commission and the approval of the UTP, right? For the funding that we are supporting the allocation of those category 2 and 4 funds. And then once all that's approved to, making sure we put that into our TIP amendment to get to the STIP. So we'll be working closely with TxDOT to make sure we're meeting those deadlines. Something else that's important to mention, since we did allocate future category $7, we may need to, make sure that we get those funds advanced as well. So we'll work closely with you to make sure all those things happen.
Yes, go ahead.
So as you can see, right, it takes I guess it takes a village to deliver a transportation project, right? So, so again, you know, it's a lot of hard work by a lot of folks, you know, Roberto, Ana, the city, you know, you all, the county. I mean, you know, one of the reasons that we really wanted to, you know, continue to advance this project is because we feel this is a very important project to the region, all right? I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir here because everybody knows that, but again, I think that is something, you know, that's gonna really improve, you know, transportation and relieve some of that congestion here in some of our roads or adjacent roads, right? So again, thank you for that opportunity.
All right, thank you.
And you asked about worst-case scenario, you know, we have the utilities that falls in line. Their schedule, we anticipated that they would be completed originally by May and by June with the conflict resolutions and the overall relocation by January. We have extended some additional time here based on the schedule that they provided, but they are still targeting to have all utilities relocated by January. So that falls in line with what we needed for our project. And I know y'all are gonna speak of the right-of-way, and I have this up here with respect to the parcels that we're having to acquire for the project and the total number of acreage that we'll need. Like we mentioned, parcels 1 through 5 are already ready to begin, you know, the discussions. And then we have parcels 7, 8. The acquisition process for that acreage has been identified, and it will not impact the project development schedule. So fortunately, what we've identified for that third parcel that we're still in question about, it's not gonna affect how we get to the letting, and it's not, more than likely won't affect anything with respect to us actually letting the project. We should be able to still proceed and then make the adjustments as needed.
Great, thank you.
All right,
Mr. Chavez.
thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the MPO. Ramon Chavez, city engineer. I guess first of all, I'd like to thank EP2 and his TxDOT staff. I don't think we haven't been in so much communication over the phone and meetings in the last month, which is really helpful because it's brought us to this point. And I'll just be brief. As far as the right-of-way acquisition is concerned, we have been, again, coordinating a lot with TxDOT. We did receive all the parcels. Even as of Monday, we received an additional 8 one. We've had a support letter for parcels 1 through 5, and I asked all the representatives to be here today because I don't know, I thought it'd be best to hear it directly from them if needed, but they're here. Mr. Van Steenmer had to step out, which he represents parcels 1 through 5, but he did provide us a support letter March 15th, and we were not able to include it in your packet, but we'll provide that information. As far as parcel number 6, the Rutinger Living Trust, I know we have Mr. Gilpin here present as well, and for the parcel 7 and 8, representing North Laredo Industrial Park is Mr. Rick Villarreal here in case there's any additional questions, but we've been, again, having a lot of meetings with them. They're in support of the project. We're going to do everything we can to not delay it for the letting date, and they know that as well. And just a final comment on parcel 7 and 8. I think there's been a lot of questions that although we're already working with them, that will not, those 2 parcels, additional parcels, will not delay the project, as Ana mentioned earlier.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
We don't have an agenda item on this, right?
Not on that, it was the report. We already approved the report.
All right, okay, thank you. All right, next item, executive session.
No, we tackled that.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn,
Second.
motion passes, meeting adjourned. 2:26 PM. Thank you all.